I want to welcome all my viewers and guests with genuine enthusiasm. This story begins on an unforgettable evening in downtown Los Angeles, a city where every street pulses with dreams and every corner holds the promise of an extraordinary event. That night was dedicated to a special meet and greet with none other than Keanu Reeves, a celebrity known not only for his blockbuster roles but also for his humble and genuine demeanor. What started as a routine evening of event planning quickly morphed into a night that would alter the lives of everyone present. From early morning, my production team and I worked diligently to ensure that every detail was perfect. We had booked a spacious conference room in a sleek, modern hotel in Los Angeles, chosen for its state-of-the-art technology and inviting decor that blended contemporary style with a touch of classic elegance. The room was bathed in bright, warm light, its walls adorned with photographs of past events that had left their mark on the local community. As we set up our cameras and sound equipment, there was an undercurrent of excitement mixed with a hint of anxiety. Everyone knew that a chance encounter with Keanu Reeves was not an everyday occurrence. I spent time on camera explaining to my growing audience why events like these are so important. Guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, I urged, speaking directly into the lens with the sort of raw energy that only a dedicated YouTuber can muster. Every word was meant to connect with those watching from all over the country, reminding them that they were part of a larger community that valued honesty and real-life experiences. My introduction wasn't just a call for subscriptions, it was an invitation to witness history in the making, to see firsthand how an ordinary evening could transform into something much more significant. Hours before the scheduled start of the event, I met with the event organizers for a final rundown. They briefed me on the finer details, the security protocols, the guest list, and even the timeline of Keanu's arrival. According to them, Keanu would be escorted by a team of security personnel and would make his entrance in a controlled, orderly manner. Outside, a steady stream of enthusiastic fans had already begun to gather, each one hoping to catch a glimpse of their idol, to perhaps share a word with him or simply bask in the glow of his presence. Among the crowd was a young man whose intense eyes and restless energy set him apart from the rest, a presence that, unbeknownst to us at that moment, would soon tip the scales of the night's events. The atmosphere in the room was reminiscent of a typical upscale event in America: friendly smiles, animated chatter, and an unmistakable anticipation for what was about to unfold. Yet, even as we prepared for an evening of celebration and celebrity encounters, I couldn't help but sense that fate had something unexpected in store. Every detail, from the carefully arranged seating to the polished sound systems, contributed to an ambience that felt both intimate and grand. I was determined to capture every nuance on camera, to document not only the glitz of the event, but also the raw emotions that might emerge when the extraordinary intersected with the everyday. As the final moments before Keanu's arrival ticked by, I took a moment to reflect on how events like these were more than just public appearances. They were opportunities to connect people from all walks of life. I thought about the myriad stories that had led me to this point as a YouTuber, each one underscoring the importance of authenticity and the power of sharing real-life moments. There was a quiet magic in knowing that, tonight, my viewers would witness something that was not only cinematic but palpably human. And as I adjusted my camera's focus and checked my live stream one last time, I felt an electrifying mixture of anticipation and resolve. This was going to be a night remembered for its spontaneity and raw honesty, a night where every laugh, every whisper, and every unexpected moment would be etched into the collective memory of those who were lucky enough to be there. The mood in the conference room shifted as the evening progressed. The once steady hum of pre-event chatter gave way to a heightened sense of expectancy and quiet tension. It was just past sunset when the first signs of something unusual began to emerge amid the sea of excited faces. Guests began filing into the room, their footsteps echoing on the polished floor, while the ambient lighting bathed the space in a soft, golden glow. Every detail, from the modern art adorning the walls to the meticulously arranged seating, contributed to the feeling of an upscale event in the heart of Los Angeles. Soon enough, whispers spread among the crowd about the upcoming arrival of Keanu Reeves. He was known not only for his memorable film roles but also for his down-to-earth approach to life. That evening, however, an undercurrent of rumor began to ripple through the audience. Aside from the excitement of meeting a Hollywood icon, there was talk of an enigmatic figure in Keanu's entourage, his manager. There were murmurs among some guests suggesting that this manager, whose identity had long been shrouded in mystery, had a shadowy past. Although these were only hushed speculations, they cast a subtle pall over an otherwise celebratory atmosphere. Then, the moment arrived. Keanu stepped into the room, exuding calm assurance and an approachable demeanor that made every fan feel as if they were speaking to an old friend. Dressed in a sleek, understated outfit that managed to be both stylish and modest, he carried an aura of quiet confidence. His warm smile and genuine gaze immediately softened the room's formal atmosphere. As he greeted fans and exchanged polite nods, he effortlessly bridged the gap between celebrity and everyday man, a quality that endeared him to countless admirers. I, as the event's host and dedicated documentarian, continued to relay the moment live to my online audience. Every remark Keanu made was recorded and broadcasted, turning an exclusive encounter into a shared experience for thousands watching from across the country. Yet, amid the celebration and heartfelt interactions, the earlier mentioned rumors about his manager lingered like an unresolved chord. Several attendees could be seen exchanging knowing looks, and hushed conversations began to sprout in corners of the room. These murmurs were not meant to incite fear, but rather to stir curiosity. What was the real story behind this elusive figure? In one corner of the hall, the young man I'd noticed earlier, whose observant eyes and restless energy set him apart, continued to linger near a small refreshment station. His posture was tense, and his conversation with a few friends took on a more serious tone. He mentioned snippets of unsettling details he'd overheard from older acquaintances, stories that painted a disturbing picture of the manager's past. Although his tone was measured, there was an intensity in his eyes that suggested he was carrying a burden of knowledge that no one else in the room seemed to share. As Keanu took a seat to interact more intimately with a small group of fans, the ambience in the room shifted imperceptibly. The gentle hum of conversation was punctuated by intermittent glances toward the young man, whose presence now carried a weight of quiet determination. His eyes never left the scene, as if he were waiting for the right moment to unveil something that he believed needed to be known. Every laugh, every soft-spoken word from Keanu was tinged with an unspoken acknowledgement that beneath the polished exterior of this glamorous event, something more complex was simmering. The organizers, busy with last-minute adjustments, did their best to maintain a serene environment. Yet, the subtle tension in the air hinted that the evening's course might take an unexpected turn. I continued to narrate live, remarking on the authenticity of the moment while also sensing that the shadows of old rumors were gradually merging with the bright lights of celebrity. In that charged environment, the stage was set for a revelation that would soon challenge everyone's understanding of truth and reputation. The conversation around the room, both spoken and unspoken, was a tapestry of admiration, skepticism, and a faint whisper of foreboding. And as the evening wore on, it became increasingly clear that the seeds of suspicion were taking root, destined to burst forth into dramatic consequence. As the evening reached its peak, a palpable electricity filled the air. The room, already buzzing with anticipation, suddenly became the stage for a moment that no one could have foreseen. Amid the carefully orchestrated interactions between Keanu Reeves and his adoring fans, the atmosphere began to shift when a young man, one whose presence had been quietly noted throughout the night, stepped forward with an intensity that silenced the murmuring crowd. His eyes were bright with conviction, and his face bore the marks of someone who had wrestled with a profound internal struggle. For several minutes, Keanu was engaged in a heartfelt conversation with a group of admirers, his warm and measured tone inviting trust and openness. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, the young man moved from the periphery of the room to the center of attention. With an unwavering gaze and a voice that resonated with unexpected authority, he suddenly shouted, "Your manager is a serial killer." The words exploded into the quiet air like a thunderclap, shattering the comfortable rhythm of the evening. In an instant, every eye in the room turned to him, and the shock was palpable. Fans, fellow guests, and even the seasoned security personnel were struck dumb by the audacity of the claim. Time seemed to slow as the reality of what had just been uttered sank in. The young man's declaration was not the rambling outburst of a troubled youth. It was a measured, deliberate statement that carried the weight of conviction. The entire hall fell silent, as if holding its breath while trying to process the implications of such an accusation. Keanu's face, usually so composed and reflective of his inner calm, now betrayed a flicker of bewilderment and concern. In that charged moment, the actor's expression shifted from one of congeniality to that of a man forced to confront an unexpected and deeply unsettling allegation. Every element of the room was transformed by that single sentence. The lively chatter and laughter evaporated, replaced by a heavy, almost suffocating quiet. People exchanged nervous glances and whispered to one another, trying to reconcile the stark contrast between the gentle, kind persona of the man they had admired and the explosive accusation now ringing in their ears. I, standing at the center of the event as the live narrator, felt my heart pound as I tried to capture every nuance of this dramatic pivot. It was a moment when reality and rumor collided, leaving the audience in a state of suspended disbelief. Security staff quickly converged on the young man, their expressions hard and unyielding as they gently but firmly escorted him toward a quieter area. Yet, even as he was led away, his eyes burned with a fierce determination, as if he believed that by speaking out he had already set in motion events that would force the truth to be revealed. Meanwhile, Keanu's reaction was a study in controlled emotion. He paused, his eyes scanning the room as if searching for answers in the anxious faces of his fans. His lips parted slightly in a silent question, a query directed both inwardly and at the disoriented crowd. In those tense moments, the room became a crucible of conflicting emotions. The shocking statement had transformed what was meant to be an evening of celebration into a crisis of identity and truth. Questions flared up rapidly among the onlookers. What could have driven this young man to such a drastic proclamation? Was there any substance behind the claim, or was it merely a wild, misguided outburst born of youthful rebellion? And most importantly, what did this mean for the reputation of someone as carefully managed as Keanu Reeves? Even as the immediate shock began to subside, the ripple effects of that single sentence continued to reverberate throughout the venue. The young man's words had fractured the carefully maintained veneer of the event, exposing the raw undercurrents of doubt and suspicion that had long lurked beneath the surface. In that critical juncture, every detail, the trembling tone in the young man's voice, the subtle shift in Keanu's gaze, and the collective intake of breath by the assembled crowd spoke to the gravity of the situation. It was a moment that signified the collision of personal belief and public persona, a moment that would irrevocably alter the course of the evening and force everyone present to confront an unsettling possibility. That beneath the polished exterior of Hollywood's glittering world, there might exist hidden truths far darker than anyone had ever imagined. In the immediate aftermath of the explosive declaration, the atmosphere in the venue was charged with an intensity that none of us had ever experienced before. Keanu Reeves, standing at the heart of the unfolding drama, appeared momentarily paralyzed by shock. His face, usually the epitome of calm and grace, was etched with a mix of disbelief, confusion, and a trace of pain. For several long, excruciating seconds, he simply stood there, eyes fixed on the young man whose words had appended the carefully orchestrated serenity of the event, trying to make sense of the accusation that had been thrust upon him. The silence that followed was almost tangible, as if the entire room had collectively decided to hold its breath. Slowly, Keanu's expression began to change. The initial shock was replaced by a quiet determination as he stepped forward to address the crowd. His voice, though measured and soft, carried an undeniable weight as he said, "Let's clear this up." In that simple statement lay a deep resolve to get to the bottom of the matter, a resolve that reflected both his personal integrity and his commitment to the truth. There was no trace of anger in his tone, only a sincere desire to understand the origins of the accusation and to protect the sanctity of the trust his fans had placed in him. Almost simultaneously, security personnel swiftly moved to isolate the young man, carefully escorting him out of the immediate public area in an effort to de-escalate what was rapidly becoming a volatile situation. Around him, the atmosphere was electric. Onlookers whispered amongst themselves, their faces a blend of shock and concern, while journalists scrambled to record every moment of this unfolding drama. The cameras captured Keanu's every subtle gesture, a fleeting frown, a tightening of his jaw, and a look of deep contemplation that seemed to invite both empathy and inquiry. It was clear that he was grappling with a torrent of conflicting emotions, torn between his instinct to defend his team and his commitment to unbiased inquiry. Back on camera, I continued to document the scene, my own pulse racing as I tried to relay the full gravity of what had just occurred. I could see in Keanu's eyes the unmistakable signs of someone who had been forced to confront a betrayal of trust, a trust that extended not only to his inner circle but also to the millions of fans who looked up to him. His subsequent words, though few, were carefully chosen. "I need to understand where this is coming from," he admitted, his voice carrying a note of vulnerability that was rare for someone of his celebrity stature. In that moment, it wasn't the image of a Hollywood superstar that was on display, but rather that of a man deeply committed to finding the truth, regardless of the personal cost. The repercussions of that statement rippled outward quickly. The room, which had been gripped by shock, now buzzed with a mix of anger, confusion, and anxious speculation. Within minutes, a small cluster of journalists began to press for further details, their microphones thrust forward and their cameras zooming in on every nuance of Keanu's expression. Security staff continued their discreet but determined efforts to keep the situation under control, yet the tension in the room remained palpable, a tension that spoke to the larger implications of a single, explosive claim. As the minutes stretched into what felt like an eternity, the fallout of the incident began to crystallize. Keanu's carefully measured response, his insistence on verifying the information before passing judgment, was seen by many as a testament to his character. Yet, it also opened the door to a cascade of questions. Who was behind the young man's accusation? What was the origin of these rumors, and how much of it was truth? And above all, how would this revelation affect the reputation of everyone involved, from the celebrity to the enigmatic manager who now found himself at the center of a burgeoning controversy? It was in these long, reflective moments that the true weight of the situation became apparent. For Keanu, the challenge was not only to salvage the dignity of the event, but also to reaffirm his commitment to truth and transparency. His deliberate, thoughtful responses conveyed a sense of responsibility, both to his fans and to the ideals he had long held dear. Even as the room remained cloaked in uncertainty, it was clear that Keanu was determined to navigate the crisis with honesty and integrity, refusing to let a moment of chaos define his legacy. His measured reaction became a rallying cry for those who believed in the power of truth over sensationalism, a beacon in an evening that had been darkened by a single, incendiary accusation. In the days that followed that tumultuous evening, Los Angeles found itself swept up in a fervor of inquiry and investigation. The explosive statement made by the young man had ignited a firestorm of media attention and public speculation. Reporters, already present at the event, began to piece together every fragment of information, while law enforcement and independent investigators launched their own inquiries to uncover the true story behind the claims. It soon became apparent that the accusation was not simply the product of a misguided outburst. It was entangled in a web of rumors, half-truths, and unverified reports that had circulated quietly among those closest to the star. Authorities took immediate steps to investigate the background of the young man who had made the claim. Detailed interviews were conducted with his family, friends, and teachers, all in an effort to understand where he had heard such unsettling information about Keanu's manager. As it turned out, the young man had been exposed to several ominous stories over the years, passed down in hushed tones by older acquaintances. These stories, though previously dismissed as urban legends or exaggerated gossip, now took on new significance in light of the serious investigation that was unfolding. Meanwhile, independent journalists began their own research, combing through archives, conducting interviews, and connecting dots that had long remained hidden in the shadows of Hollywood's glitzy veneer. Slowly but steadily, the investigation revealed that there were indeed aspects of the manager's past that warranted scrutiny. Records, testimonies from former colleagues, and a series of seemingly unrelated incidents painted a picture that was more complicated than anyone had imagined. While some evidence appeared to lend credence to the young man's startling claim, official documents and verified statements pointed to the manager's legitimate role in managing the careers of high-profile clients. This duality of information created a palpable tension among both investigators and the public alike. It was a situation where facts and rumors intermingled, making it increasingly difficult to discern reality from fabricated narrative. Throughout this period of intense scrutiny, Keanu Reeves maintained his calm demeanor and reaffirmed his commitment to transparency and truth. In a series of measured interviews, he stressed that his only interest was in uncovering the reality behind the accusations. "I have always believed in the power of truth," he remarked, emphasizing that the integrity of his team and the trust of his fans were non-negotiable. His steady, sincere tone became a touchstone for many who were disillusioned by the rapid spread of unverified stories and sensational headlines. Keanu's willingness to cooperate with authorities and provide his perspective helped to diffuse some of the public's anger. even as debates raged on about the implications of the findings. As the official investigation reached its climax, the results were met with a mixture of relief, disappointment, and lingering uncertainty. The final report confirmed that, while certain aspects of the manager's history raised questions, there was no definitive evidence linking him to any criminal behavior that would justify the young man's explosive claim. Instead, the controversy had exposed a broader issue: the ease with which rumors can distort public perception and damage the reputations of even the most well-managed individuals. The manager, although not vindicated in the eyes of everyone, was largely exonerated by the weight of the verified facts. Yet, the entire incident served as a powerful reminder of the responsibility that comes with speaking out, especially in an age where every word can spread like wildfire. In the wake of the investigation's conclusion, the narrative began to shift from one of scandal to one of introspection and learning. Keanu, ever the advocate for honesty, reflected publicly on the events that had unfolded. He spoke not only of his personal dismay but also of the broader societal implications, how easily misinformation can take hold, and how critical it is for everyone, celebrities, managers, and everyday citizens alike, to verify the truth before succumbing to sensationalism. His final remarks were a call for understanding and careful thought, urging fans and critics alike to look beyond the surface and to value the complexities of every human story. Ultimately, what began as an explosive, emotionally charged declaration evolved into a cautionary tale about the power of words and the importance of accountability. The young man, whose brave yet controversial statement had set everything in motion, was forced to confront the repercussions of his words. His life, once marked by quiet anonymity, was suddenly thrust into the public spotlight. The fallout affected not only his personal relationships but also the broader community, sparking conversations about the ethics of rumor, the consequences of unchecked allegations, and the fine line between truth and fiction in our modern media landscape. In the final analysis, the episode left behind a legacy that extended far beyond the confines of that singular event. It reminded everyone present, and those who later followed the story on social media and news outlets, that even in the glittering world of Hollywood, the truth is a fragile thing, easily marred by the distortions of rumor and fear. As the city of Los Angeles slowly returned to its normal pace, the lessons from that night lingered in the minds of those who had witnessed it, a testament to the enduring importance of integrity, the power of careful investigation, and the lasting impact that one moment of courage or recklessness can have on the lives of many.